This Psychic Holistic Spotlight. I'm glad you've joined us. Tonight we have co-hosting with me, I'm Josie Way, Ken Demers, and Kathy Medeiros. And as promised, our guest is Bonnie Maya Wallace to tell us more about numerology and yoga. That together she's found a sequence that she channeled that's inspiring and helps everybody wake up and have a good day. So tell us a little bit about it.
Thank you so much for having me back, Josie and Ken and Kathy. So Renew Body Sequence is a 13-phase sequence that is experienced through movement, but also in our emotional state, our mental state. It's experienced through the soul, through spirit. It's really happening in all facets of our being. And what it is the 13 phases of basically birth, growth, death, returning, and then what happens behind the scenes before the cycle starts again. In the center, so there's 12 phases around the periphery, like a clock. Think of the 12 hands of a clock. And so it's sort of like you're recycling, renewing. The word rebirth can be a little bit unfamiliar to some people, so that's where I decided to use the word renew, because even for people who aren't comfortable with the idea of being reborn or having past lives, it's not really necessarily necessary to believe in that, because we're constantly recycling and renewing within this life.
You were a new person every 7 years.
Exactly. All the cells in our body die off and regenerate, so we're a completely new being. And not just that, but like every morning, like I had a friend who was in seminary to become a priest, and he said, Bonnie, every morning you wake up, you're a new person. You're reborn every morning. So, you know, we're within each day, we're renewing within cycles of our life. When we, leave a job, it's almost like a death, a loss. Or when we move to a new place, the place we're leaving behind, we're going through this phase of grief, of loss, and processing that grief. And then waiting until our next phase happens. And so, relationships are another thing that happen in life that we cycle through. We'll come into a new relationship, we meet a new person, we develop a closeness with them. Sometimes our relationships end, sometimes because that person passes away, sometimes that person moves away, sometimes we have a falling out. Whatever it is, the relationship comes to an end. And then we are in that phase of grief, of processing that loss, and then waiting for the next phase. So it's something that you don't necessarily have to believe in rebirth to do. You just have to understand that we're constantly renewing within life. And so basically, there's the 12 phases around the periphery, and then in the center is actually phase number 0.
Is what? Say that again?
0.
Is 0 the one that's in the non-physical?
Yeah, it's basically beyond everything, and I call it letting go. It's like that meditative state where you completely transcend, and you just let go of physical. And it basically is all of vastness, of holding space for all that is in neutrality. It's non-gendered, it's non-specific. It's holding dark and light at the same time. It's just, 0. And so that 0 we talked about on the last episode in numerology, you said can bring intensity to something or make it important to focus on. And so I really kind of had this channeled experience of realizing that 0 is kind of like the forgotten number. You know, in so many faiths, we have 12. You know, there are 12 sons of Israel, but then you have Israel, right, in the Jewish tradition. And then you have the 12 disciples of Christ, but then you have Christ in the center. You have 12 spectrums of light plus clear light in the center. So it's sort of that anchor, that 0 is the place in the middle of it all where time stands still, where you go beyond time. And if you think of the hands of a clock, there's usually like a little pin that holds the hand still. You know what I mean? And that pin is motionless while the hands move around it. You know, or like when you drop the rock.
That's a nice, I like that one.
Yeah, you drop that rock into the water, and that rock
Concentric
goes to the
circles.
bottom, and it's still. But you've got this ripple effect moving outside of it, so that rock becomes 0, you know, letting go.
So is this a set of exercises, a set of meditation series?
Yes, it's actually both, and I actually just filmed and recorded both. So I'm going to be coming out online with a program that you can do the meditation. You can purchase it online. You can download it. It's not, I haven't edited everything yet, but I've recorded them. So it actually has 13 meditations where you can go through the sequence in a meditative state. And I have a wonderful friend who is a pianist in the Unity Church, and he's playing music, and he's helping me record that. And then the videos that I recorded for the actually moving through the sequence, there are going to be 2 videos. One is just yoga, and the other one is a combination of yoga and dance. So for people who like to really dance and move around and pick up the cardio a little more, it has a little bit more to it. But it's the same 13 phases in the meditation, in the yoga, and in the yoga plus.
I'd like to have the 3 options.
Yeah.
3 is important.
Yoga is
Yeah.
primarily movement, right? Well, you're holding into a
Well,
place. How do you do the 0 point when it's geared around movement?
So I always begin and end there. Every class I teach begins and ends in letting go. And I will usually have people sit. Sometimes I'll have them lie down on their backs. But to find a comfortable place in stillness, and I will usually chant Om. So that would be my easy access point for anyone to get to letting go is just by chanting Om.
Now, when you do this sequence, you have students come in who've never done it before. Does it have an effect on them?
Yes. So
What kind of effect?
Yeah, so what's awesome is that I've been doing workshops where I had like a 6-week series, and I had people come for 6 weeks and take classes. These students who took my series, I have watched them on Facebook, because we became Facebook friends, completely change their lives, completely take control of their lives and start doing things that they weren't doing, start living outside of the box that they were living in, and really coming into the fullness of their destiny.
Now, they've seen this change, right?
Oh, yes.
Okay. I thought
And
you're not aware.
yeah, it's really amazing, because when I channeled this, I channeled it as somebody who had lived through multiple traumas, but had no idea that I had ever been through a trauma. I didn't know what trauma was. I just knew that I almost died 5 times, and I'm lucky to be alive. Like, that's how I saw my life. I almost died, I'm here, praise God. And then when I channeled this, I realized that as it was coming through me, I was having these flashbacks to all the times that I almost died. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm like kind of piecing everything together. And when I came out of this deep, channeling, I really made sure that I saw everyone. And I went to a friend of mine who's a really good channeler, and I sat with her, and I wanted to, I'm like, okay, Johanna, tell me, did I really channel this or am I a lunatic? Do you know what I mean? And she, verified for me, yes, this is, big work for you. And I also went to my therapist, and I said, here's what happened, am I crazy? And she's like, you think of it that you...
Good crazy.
Yeah, she's like, basically, she's like, imagine if like you had like a fever, which I did have a fever when it happened, and she's like, you're just kind of like coming out of that fever, and you're just kind of like figuring out, coming to afterwards, and she really made me feel good about it. She was like, I really believe you. I believe that everything that you are telling me is true.
Okay, you've generated a couple of questions for me.
Yeah.
When you have your class come in, they're doing 6 sessions. Are you doing 2 of these a night for 6 nights, so they get their 12? Or are you doing all 12 every night?
No, I just did, it was 6 weeks, 1 night a week for 6 weeks.
But the papers that you had, each 1 and 2, are you doing them the first night, and then you're doing 3 and 4 the second night? And
No, so
you're doing all 12 every night.
Yes, all 13. So when I teach a class, we always move through all 13. And let me correct myself, not always. We always begin in 0, and then we move from 0, which is letting go, to 1, which is the womb. So you're moving into returning to the womb, which is a very safe, cozy, supported, nestled feeling. And then you're transitioning from that through all the phases that bring you back out and up and to full life, and then to dying, which conveniently in yoga there is actually a pose called corpse pose. So it goes so well. And most people know it as Shavasana because that sounds so pretty and it's not morbid, but it really translates to corpse pose. So when you go into Shavasana, you're really dying and letting go, you're shedding a layer. And then when you come back out, yoga has been around for a very long time. And the purpose of yoga, they created yoga to go into a deeper meditative state. Because what happens when you do yoga, you're opening all the pathways and the meridians of your body where the energy flows, so that you can sit still for a much longer period of time, and the energy is flowing through you, and you can enter that altered state of consciousness where you can connect to the divine more easily without your bum going like, oh, because you've done the yoga first. Right? So that's basically why they created yoga. So the natural phase after corpse pose is to come to that place of going beyond the physical body.
To 0 to complete it.
So a lot of times I'll go back to 0 in a class. However, when I want to go through the whole phase twice, which I will do in some classes, I will go through the whole thing twice in order to get, so phase number 8 is dying, and 9 is going beyond the physical body to the other side, which many people will say you can do in your body. You can do it within this life, you know what I mean, through learning how to meditate. Or some people will have, snap experiences like I did, where you die and you actually leave your body. I mean, I was literally looking at the car with my body in it, looking down, when I was 13 years old and going, oh my gosh, that's my dad. Oh, hey, there I am. And then I entered back into my body in the ambulance and woke back up. You know what I mean? Oh, why am I still alive? I thought I was gone. So you can leave the body, but then after that comes phases 10, 11, and 12. And those, what I would call is the winter of your life. So think of being in the womb and coming out of the womb as the spring, and then learning to walk and move around being the summer, and then the dying being the fall, obviously, because that just goes with our seasons. And then the winter is what happens behind the scenes. So phase number 10 is divine feminine energy, which is represented by the icon of an egg, because that is feminine energy, is the egg. And then phase 11 is divine masculine energy, which is sperm. So those two things take on the characteristics of feminine and masculine energy, but they make it really crystal clear for people to understand how those energies are in our bodies. Because when we're in a receptive, waiting, feminine state, it is, I call it egg-like. And when we are in that masculine, dominant, doing things, going places, action-oriented, it is like a sperm. They never stop going. And so, you can't live your life in either state, because in the one, you're going to become sedentary and depressed. In the other, you're going to become anxious and overworked and fatigued from just going all the time, which our culture is obviously predominantly masculine.
It encourages it.
Exactly. And so the nice thing about when I teach it, from getting to teach these 3 phases, is helping people to feel in their body what feminine energy feels like and feel in their body. I used to call it my nervous talking thing. When I would get excited about something and I'd be like, and then, I used to call it my nervous talking
Like you are
thing.
now.
Yes, exactly. And that is that masculine energy. And then phase 12, the 1 and the 2, the 1 is the masculine number, the 2 is the feminine number, merging and coming together to form a union. And then in our movement, making our movement slow motion, intentional movement, that we're not going at a frantic pace, but we're going towards our goal in an intentional way. And it feels good. It's that movement that feels good.
So all this does come back to balance.
Yeah.
Okay,
this all together.
now, you had channeled this. Who channeled it to you?
It was from the mother, from like Goddess. So I was raised a Christian. I didn't even believe in Goddess. I had friends who were Wiccan and pagan and believed in all kinds of goddesses, and I've always been open to everything. Like, I'm open to that. That's nice and fine and dandy, but I believe in Christ, and that's a little woo-woo, but it's good for you. Like, that was how I was. And then Goddess decided she needed to have a conversation with me, and I was like, oh, I get it now.
Don't
Funny
forget
how
me.
they choose us, though, in the end, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they choose us.
That is exactly, yep.
Yeah, there are numerous people who have been contacted from higher above, even though they were brought up in one religion, and suddenly Christ is speaking to them, Buddha is speaking to them, Kuan Yin is speaking to them, Mother Mary is speaking to them.
It's amazing
Because
how
they
we're all just
need
one. Yeah.
your gifts for everyone.
Yes, that was definitely the message that I got, that this was something that is for everyone, and that not everyone will maybe be receptive to it, but that anyone who has been, especially people who have been through trauma and who have kind of gotten stuck, where you get to that phase of grief and loss and processing that. And what happens, and there's so much research that backs this up, like so much research. When you get to that state and you have these emotions that become uncomfortable and you don't do anything at all to process them, they manifest in the physical body as illness and injuries.
Okay, I got a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
When you get your tape out, and you
Yes.
get it, take all the wrinkles out of it, go down the Veterans Administration.
This is my goal. I want every veteran to have this for free. I have a goal that every veteran should have this for free at some point. I don't know how I'm going to make it happen, but I just believe so strongly that they're serving our country and they're coming back with
Call Ross Perot.
so much trauma and having to reintegrate. And so, yes, I would love that.
Call Ross Perot.
You think Ross Perot will help me? I'm all for it.
You never know.
Whoever wants to help me get into the veterans,
When the time
please
comes, it will
contact me.
happen,
I do. I feel that every veteran should have it, because honestly, anyone can do it. I have 3 modules that I copyrighted through the U.S. Copyright Office that can be done from sitting. So if you're limited to just chair, like our friend just told us earlier, woga, wheelchair yoga, like if you're limited to the chair, you can do Renew Body Sequence from a chair. And again, if you have full range of motion, you can get out and do all ranges of motion. And again, the meditative aspect of doing it as a meditation. Now the thing is, people with PTSD, meditation is sometimes really scary.
Very difficult.
And it's not gonna, it would cause them to have flashbacks. So having a very specific yoga pose in each move, in each phase, is much easier to do a yoga pose.
So it's not so intense for them.
Exactly, and not even having to know, you're moving through these phases and you're repatterning your cells so that they have healthy, happy memories associated with all these different phases of your life, because that's how the cells take on the memory. When you go back to rolling on the floor, if you had a trauma at that time in your life, you're not realizing that your cells have just automatically taken on an unhealthy pattern of movement that's going forward on a trajectory for your whole life.
What was that guy that we had on the show here from England that did some kind of PH?
Alex. And
what do you call it? It was
NLP.
I'm hearing her.
Yes, neuro-linguistic programming.
What she's talking about ties in very good with that. I can't remember the name of it, but I know.
He worked with PTSD.
Workshop.
Laura Joseph works with PTSD with Chichen Reiki. I don't. I probably mispronounced it, but there are a lot of ways to help with PTSD, and this sounds like one of them.
It sounds like it. I'm hearing her talk about it, and it ties together.
We don't have much time left, so I want to say thank you, Ken. Thank you, Kathy.
What else do you do?
Thank you for Bonnie. Yeah. She does music therapy, so she's going to have to come back.
Okay.
Yes. Thank you. Yeah.
You're welcome.
So tell us how people can get a hold of you.
Yes.
So you can contact me at my website, which is bonniemayawallace.com. And it was just up on the screen, but it's BonnieMayaWallace. BonnieMayaWallace.com. You can email me BonnieMayaWallace@gmail.com. And you can find me on Instagram and Facebook at Bonnie Maya Wallace. You can follow me there.
And your classes with this
are up on my website. So if you go to BonnieMayaWallace.com, there's a page for classes, and just click on that. If you want a personal session, which I've been doing a lot of personal sessions lately, and I think it's great. I help people develop a 20-minute practice that they can do on their own. And what I do is I find the move for them that will fit with all 13 phases. So I customize it, to what their
one move?
Well, 1 or 2 for each phase. So, I mean, I do it every morning, and it takes me about 20 minutes to get through. But I kind of go free flow, you know what I mean? Where my body feels like moving that morning. Somebody who doesn't have that much comfort in their body, that much body awareness, they're gonna want a structure of you're gonna do this, you're gonna do that, and I write it all down for them, and then it's a customized Renew Body Sequence for their fitness goals, for their wellness goals. As a music therapist, I help create a playlist for them that's 20 minutes long. I help whatever they have, if they use a computer or an iPod or whatever they're using for their music, I help them create a playlist that's right there. They can press play, and then they can use it.
So this is very integrative.
Yeah, I use everything that I've studied. I bring it all together. The music, the
yoga,
dance,
now,
healing.
David was fairly close to here, which is where you teach Friday nights?
Friday nights at 5:30. It's called NIA Connecticut, NIA Connecticut. It's right in Dayville.
It's in the back, it's on the back side of the building of Harbor Freight, across the street from Kip's Restaurant.
Exactly. Yep. I say behind the Aldi's too.
He must go to Kip's Restaurant
I think so.
Well, it's in my backyard. Well,
Yeah.
from my house.
from the farm.
We usually go
house
to the
and the farm.
Mexican restaurant that's behind Kip's restaurant. We usually go for the margaritas.
It sounds like you're very busy enjoying the work.
What time is the Friday night thing?
It's 5:30 to 6:45. So it's that one includes dance. So it's yoga and dance, and I call it Renew Body Sequence Extended Play. So it's got the whole 13 phases, and right in the middle, when you get to the peak, we do 30 minutes of dance.
What kind of dance?
Fun dance, easy dance.
Free motion type stuff?
Some free, but I do keep it structured again because some people don't like to be told, dance like a fairy. I mean, you and I might think that was fun, but some people think that's a little weird. So I'll give them, specific moves, and they're easy, fun. I try to pull from a lot of different
I got
styles.
a lot of fairy places, and I got one of them right up the road from you, half a mile away.
Yeah, exactly.
He's kind of, vortex.
Exactly. You and I might be happy to do that, but some people come into a fitness class and you go dance like a fairy, and they're like, what?
So it's only once a week though that you teach a class?
There, but I teach in Worcester.
Okay.
I teach 4 other classes per week. So.
Oh, okay.
That one's close to Rhode Island, that's why I
Yeah.
brought it up.
Yeah,
about that
we're
one?
almost out of time, so could you tell us, for anyone who wants to start out doing some of these movement exercises that boost you up spiritually as well as physically and mentally, is there one way to get started?
Well, my biggest recommendation would be to work one-on-one with somebody because they're going to be able to look at your, needs as far as maybe injuries and stuff like that, and really connect with you and really kind of take you on a path that you can commit to. Because each person's going to have different goals and different needs. You can hit me up through my Facebook, Instagram, website, email, Bonnie Maya Wallace. And I'm happy to travel if you want to do a one-to-one session, like I said, and kind of get you to help people to pick what works for them, because it's not a cookie-cutter approach. There's 13 phases, but within those 13 phases, there's like a million different moves that you can do, you know what I mean, that represent those 13 phases. And each person, maybe somebody has a goal of strengthening their core, or somebody, I myself am trying to develop arm strength because I've always been stronger in my legs than my arms. So, somebody might have a goal of balance, like you said. Developing balance. So I would then create a sequence with the 13 phases that helps balance, or helps core strength, or helps upper arm strength, or leg strength, or maybe meditation.
And in the meantime, you're balancing the chakras, increasing their blood flow, and with the dance added, it's cardio.
Oh yes.
So it's definitely
And having
a big
fun.
physical aspect to this.
Yes, it lifts your mood and exactly. It helps you start the day out right, or wind the day down. If you can only do it at night before bed, it can be done at any time.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say. But if you're having fun, then it's not really an exercise, it's a sequence.
Exactly. It just feels like fun.
Yeah.
And I have, my students all come because it's fun, and I tell jokes.
How many's in the class?
It's not too serious. So the Friday night class, I've had like a core group of ladies that come. There's probably like 8, and then come and go. So it might be less than that because so many there.
And how
each
much
night.
is a class?
Oh, how much? I thought you said how many people.
No,
I
we
said
did.
I said how many, and then the next question was
So
how
the
much.
Dayville class is actually your cheapest option. It's $7 drop-in. First class is free at Nia, Connecticut. You cannot beat that price.
Do you let little
anywhere.
people come?
Do I let what?
Little people.
I would say like age 10 and up. I think if it was younger than 10, I'd probably need to do a separate class. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just for the
Different
level of
needs.
understanding,
Yeah. So, but yeah, and I could definitely do, I've done actually a lot of groups for Girl Scouts. I've had Girl Scout leaders that are friends of mine contact me, or actually friends of friends contact me and say, will you do a group for my Girl Scouts? So if you have a Girl Scout troop of young girls, I think it's great to help them develop an awareness of being in their body, to develop a positive body relationship, to help them feel good about their body.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much again. Thank you for watching us, and start looking for some more videos.